Hi guys and welcome back. So today you'll want to start by putting your warm water into a cup, jug or mug, whichever you want, and then you'll want to add your yeast and just mix the two together until well combined and set aside for around 5 to 10 minutes until it's frothy. While you wait for your yeast mixture, you can then put the rest of your dry ingredients into the mixing bowl and mix them together using your hand or a whisk just to combine them. And if you're still waiting for your yeast, then you can weigh out your ingredients, which are milk, melted butter, which you'll all want to add into the bowl, along with an egg, and last but not least, your caster sugar. But then once your yeast is ready, you'll then want to pour the yeast and water mixture into your bowl. You will then want to mix this until you have a clear dough. There's no traces of anything not being incorporated, and once you've got a clear dough, you can then take that off and proceed with the kneading. So once your dough is formed, you will then want to put it onto a well-flowed surface where you'll knead it for a couple of minutes just to bring it together until it's more smooth and elastic. Once you've achieved that, you'll then want to put it into a grease bowl for its first proof. You'll now want to cover your bowl with cling film or a tea towel and just leave it on the side in a warm place for around an hour or until doubled in size. So once your dough has doubled in size, you will want to remove it from the bowl and then put it onto a well-flowed surface before knocking it back, which is the process of removing all the air and gas that you've just built up in that 1 hour of proving. Once you've knocked the dough back, you will then want to bring it together into a ball before then reflouring the surface and rolling it out using a rolling pin. You will want to roll your dough out until it's around ½ an inch in thickness. Once you've got to the ½ an inch thickness, you'll then want to get a 3-inch cookie cutter, or you can get these specialist donut cutters, but I don't have one of those, so you can just use a 3-inch cookie cutter and then a piping nozzle if you're doing ring donuts to cut out the centre to make them a ring donut. So the piping nozzle I'm using to cut out the centres is about 1 inch in diameter, but you can use something else that will cut out just as well. You will then want to move these to a tray. I spray mine with oil as it's easier to lift them off later once they need to be fried, but you could also flour them or use a non-stick tray, whichever works best for you. Once you've got your ring donuts on a baking tray, you will then want to cover them with cling film to stop them skinning over, plus it's time to prove them again. So you then put the cling film over and leave them to rise for around 40 minutes to an hour. So with the leftover dough, you'll want to weigh them up into, I found, around 75 gram balls, and then roll them up using the palm and the side bit of your hand to smooth them out. Put them onto a baking tray which is greased with oil, and then leave them to prove again for around 40 minutes to an hour. So now you'll want to fry your donuts. Your oil needs to be at 180 degrees. To test it, you can throw one of the donut holes in to see if it fries too quickly or not quick enough. That'll be able to tell you whether your temperature is right or wrong. You'll want to fry these for about a minute either side, but that may vary depending on your fryer. To flip the donuts over, I'm using a slotted spoon, I think it's called, I don't know, but you'll want to flip them over using something, not your hands, as this will blister and burn your skin quite badly. And just before you take them out of the fryer, you'll want to give them a little shake to remove some excess grease, and then put them on some kitchen towel to absorb the excess and leave them to cool completely. So next is to make your glazes and finishes. I'm making a chocolate ganache, but you can use whatever. To make ganache, it's just heated cream, pour it over your chocolate, allow it to sit for about a minute or so to melt the chocolate, and then just stir it until there's no lumps left in the chocolate. If you've made the ganache right, it will be silky, smoothie and glossy. So with some of my chocolate ring donuts, I dip them in the ganache, giving the top a good coating of the ganache. You could leave those donuts there with just a plain chocolate ganache, but I found adding some sprinkles on top really enhanced how these donuts look. I just added some Gold Crunch, which I got from a local supermarket, but you could use whatever you like. I didn't have a recipe for the vanilla glaze, so I just got some icing sugar, vanilla and water and mixed it till I felt the right consistency was achieved. I added some red food colouring, which made it pink, which is what I wanted. You don't have to do this, you could just leave it the normal colour. And then I dip these in, as the same as the chocolate ganache ones, and just give them a nice coating on top. While the vanilla glaze is still tacky, I will dunk the donut into the sprinkles and then put it back on the cooling rack. These donuts are like the very first ones I did, which are just dipped in the ganache, but then I get some chocolate sprinkled in a small bowl and dump these in to the sprinkles just to coat where the ganache is gone, and voila, you've got a chocolate top donut. And for filled donuts, I did a Boston cream pie, which is a creme patissiere filled donut topped with a chocolate ganache. For the creme patissiere, I will leave a link somewhere for you to find the recipe, which I uploaded on Tuesday. Once you've filled the donuts with the creme patissiere, you will then want to dip them in the ganache, which is slightly thickened. So the apple filled donuts are filled with a homemade apple pie filling, and then they are dipped into a bowl of sugar, well rolled around until they've got a good coating of sugar on them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and press the notification bell so you get alerted when I upload. I'll see you next week, guys. Goodbye.